DePaul sophomore Miriam Hanna was just 18 when she took out her first student loan.
I was sitting there like really freaking out because I'm like, where am I going to get this money?
Even after financial aid, working 2 jobs, commuting to campus, and putting half of her paychecks into savings, she'll still graduate with $80,000 in debt.
No matter how much I work, it's like, it's never enough. It's like never going to be enough for me.
Stacy Ramirez graduated in 2015 with her master's from Concordia University in suburban River Forest, but her loans won't be paid off until 2027.
And when you graduate, you're like, okay, this is kind of doable, but then you realize, wow, this is $400 a month. And you're talking about having rent, some of us have families, and how do you keep paying for 400, 500, 600 plus a month with how the economy is, realistically?
Hanna and Ramirez's stories are all too familiar. That's because there are 44 million student loan borrowers in the United States. Together, they owe nearly $1.7 trillion in debt, a problem that DePaul economics professor Robert Callan says falls on both the government and universities.
There has to be more concern by both government as far as controlling the funding, and number two, by universities being sure they take the responsibility if they admit somebody to educate them, take responsibility, and make sure they're ready to be gainfully employed.
Despite nearly 90% of students at DePaul receiving financial aid, nearly 70% of undergraduate students take out loans. The average debt is $30,000 per student.
Typically, all of our students are hoping that we can find them more money, or they have concerns over their costs and how they're going to be able to pay.
For many, those concerns are turning to hope as Joe Biden enters the White House. He says he supports forgiving $10,000 in federal loans for each student through the CARES Act, but he's calling on Congress to get it done.
The legislation passed by the Democratic House calls for immediate $10,000 forgiveness of student loans. It's holding people up. They're in real trouble. They're having to make choices between paying their student loan and paying the rent, those kinds of decisions. It should be done immediately.
Those in favor of student loan forgiveness say it would not only help keep students out of debt, but would also stimulate the economy by putting an extra $200 to $300 in the pockets of millions of Americans every month. One survey found that because of debt concerns, over 20% of student loan borrowers delayed getting married, more than a quarter put off having kids, and over a third delayed buying a home. However, some economists say it's not the best form of stimulus.
Those who have student debt, etc., if you, let's say, decrease it $10,000, are they going to go now and spend? Are they going to go and rent an apartment? Are they going to go to the bar now and say yeehaw? They still got other debt, and it's not going to create as economists would say, an economic multiplier effect that's going to be that great.
But some just think it's the right thing to do.
It's not fair to a lot of people to be paying this much for a college education.
And while Biden says he won't use executive action to forgive student loans, he will use it to extend the current pause on student loan payments and interest amid the pandemic. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Becky Buds.